welcome to Above Replacement Radio. I am your host, Chris Gianta. You know what Christy Mathewson wasn't worried about? SIERA. When you're thinking about Pedro Siriaco, I mean, the only one that can compete is maybe Hannes Wagner's 1908 season. Over there on the other side of the screen is Daniel Kern.
Like, if we just clip together every time we've talked about him on other people's profiles, we've done a Mickey Cochran episode.
I can't get past Rabbit Marinville. It's not necessarily Hall of Fame. It's not necessarily above average, but we can guarantee you we are better than just the standard replacement level college sophomore.
And welcome to Above Replacement Radio, where we're talking baseball kind of whenever. I'm your host, Chris Gianta. Over there on the other side of the screen is Daniel Kern. How you doing, Daniel?
Chris, I'm doing well. It is now July 5th. Major League Baseball executed their incredible plan to release the All-Star reserve teams and pitchers last night at 5:30 Eastern time, when no one really had plans. 4th of July, 5:30 in the afternoon. People are usually resting up at that time. Just chilling out inside, watching TV. Getting ready to look at the All-Stars. That's what most people were doing yesterday. So I'm really glad that Major League Baseball picked a really good time to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone was really consumed with anything, at that point. So obviously the perfect time to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's their marketing team knock it out of the park every time. They know exactly what they're doing. They pick the perfect times to, get people interested in baseball for a brief period of time when they might not have been doing so. Hey, look at this time slot here. It's a Sunday at 5:30. On paper it looks like people are winding down, from their weekends, ready to go into work the next day. No, but you look at the calendar. It's July 4th. Everybody has plans. Every single person.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's like if you wanted to find out when your favorite player, if your favorite player was going to win the Gold Glove last year, it's like it was just a simple Tuesday night in November. Like, who's got anything going on? Who's interested in anything else at that point?
Random Tuesday night in November, early November, might I add, the same year that there would have been a Summer Olympics. There's usually nothing that goes on at that time.
Oh yeah.
No important moment, no important out of baseball moment that the whole world is tuned into.
Yeah, definitely not. I mean,
no.
Definitely not. So yeah, I mean, just killing it. MLB, that's what we're here to say pretty much. They're just killing it all the time.
Yeah, they know. I mean, they're the geniuses over there. They keep finding ways to keep being themselves, and it's kind of admirable at this point that they just keep doing it.
Yes. Yeah, all in all, the All-Star game full rosters were announced. We did our phase 2 voting last episode, so the starters were announced that night, and then we had the reserves announced later on. And most of them were have had good seasons. Some of them were added just based on the fact that there was no one else on their team that had been selected, so you kind of had to have someone. Like the Diamondbacks had to have somebody, and there's somebody happened to be Eduardo Escobar, and there were a few, maybe a couple other teams like that. But I mean, we can talk some of the best players to not get selected. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Eduardo Escobar was like the only like super egregious pick, just because someone from the team had to be there. I don't know what, like Gregory Soto he is a very good pitcher. Yusei Kikuchi was the only Mariner, but he's been dominating lately. I mean, what else? Like German Marquez was the only Rocky, but he pitched really well in the month of June. He almost threw a no-hitter in his most recent start. The only one that I really can't make an argument for is Eduardo Escobar. But yeah, I mean, there were a lot of snubs. I think the biggest one in my opinion, was probably Starling Marte from the Marlins.
Um, Starling Marte. I mean, he's. I mean, he did have his injury issue.
He did, but he's still qualifying this year.
How many games has he played? He's played
47. 47
Well-
games. He's slashing 294, 401, 453. That gives him a 143 weighted runs created plus. He's 19th. He's 19th in the league in FWAR with a 2.8, despite only playing 47 games.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's someone you want to have out in the outfield. It's pretty amazing that he's been able to accumulate that many wins above replacement. Also, 13 stolen bases, only caught twice as well. Just a good all-around season, kind of like maybe a toned down version of maybe like Byron Buxton's season thus far.
Yeah.
I would say biggest snub might be either Max Scherzer or Freddie Peralta.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Scherzer had a 2.10 ERA, Freddie Peralta a 2.23 ERA. Both of them not making the roster. I feel like that might be because partially, you had to get Herman Marquez on the roster, who's had a good year, but maybe not all-star level. And also, even if there wasn't a one per team requirement, you could not just have a Rocky-less all-star game in Colorado. It would be kind of mean to do that. So, he's in there, and I mean, I guess, Trevor Rogers is the only Marlin, but he's had an all-star
He would be
season,
an
so
all-star on any team. Yeah,
Yeah.
that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Another snub that I looked at also on the Milwaukee Brewers, Omar Narvaez. I'd say this because JT Realmuto had absolutely no business making it over him. Narvaez this year is slashing 301, 393, 459. That's really impressive from a catcher. 135 weighted runs created plus. He's been one of the best bats in the Brewers lineup all year. JT is slashing 263, 3446. Narvaez is playing pretty good defense as well. Like there's no real, other than base running, like I mean, how much can you really evaluate base running from catchers anyway? Even if JT Realmuto is like far and away the best one. Like there's no real like obvious like statistics that show JT Realmuto being better than Narvaez this season. And it's not even like JT made it because of the one team or one player per team rule, because Zach Wheeler made it from the Phillies and he legitimately deserves it. So I don't understand the process that went into that decision making. I get that JT Realmuto has been the consensus best catcher in the league for a while now, but I mean, all the numbers show that Omar Narvaez has been better across the board.
Yeah, I want to 100% agree with that. He was one of my how about that's in May, and he's been kind of continuing his success, having a career year, and stinks that cannot result in him getting all-star props. I mean, I guess the one good thing about being snubbed is you don't have to get handed one of those awful jerseys. I mean, it's not the best one to not the best one to receive.
Imagine making one. Yeah. Imagine making one All-Star game in your career and it's that one. That's tough.
Like that's the one you have to hang in your living room or your man cave.
Yeah, like you don't want that.
Yeah, it's
so anyway, good for Omar Narvaez for dodging a bullet here. And sucks to be JT Realmuto. I mean, geez, at least he's got other ones, but I mean, you got to add that to your closet. Like that's tough.
Yeah, you have to wear that around for an entire home run derby.
Yeah,
I mean, it's tough. It's tough.
I would want to do it.
Some other ones. We both agreed. Mookie Betts, great player, not having an all-star year, but put in anyway. I don't know. There were multiple people that
it's very weird how they pretty much put Mookie because of the name, but they didn't do so for like Max Scherzer, Clayton Kershaw, Bryce Harper, which is very weird how they were just completely inconsistent with that. Because Bryce Harper is the same like name that Betts is. Like that, like their names carry just about the same weight. Harper's having a better year. I don't care what the RBIs say. Like it doesn't make any sense if they put Mookie over him.
Yeah, I mean, the only argument you can use is I mean,
His
we're not really
defense and base
focused on
running.
defense at we're not focused that much on defense with the All-Star game, but I mean, I'm trying to look at the National League outfield leaderboards. I mean, Harper, I guess, only has 10 more points in weighted runs created plus, and he did have an injury that held him out for like a week and a half. But also, yeah, Starling Marte ranks ahead of Mookie Betts in Fangraph's wins above replacement.
With only 47 games.
Yeah, with only 47 games, he could have been put in there. So, yeah, I mean, there were some people more deserving that could have gotten in there, and but Betts very good player, and I understand why people would want to see him in action. Any more thoughts in the All-Star game?
Yeah, I mean, just going off of the Bryce Harper tangent, like people talk about the guy being overrated. How about underrated?
You're right. Yeah, I mean,
Like he's like Bryce Harper is talked about being overrated so much that it's made him become underrated.
yeah, I see Harper now as like a guy that puts his head down and works and just keeps producing very good offensive seasons.
Yeah, like he's on an easy Hall of Fame trajectory.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, in his last since the start of 2020, he's got a 917 OPS, a 395 on base percentage. He's been 27 home runs in 119 games since the start of 2020. Yeah, I mean he's yeah, very good player.
And he's only like he's only in his age 28 season. Like he's still very young. People forget.
Right, yeah. Arguably heading into the prime of his career, arguably maybe the prime of his career hasn't hit quite yet.
I don't know. I don't think he can outdo 2015, but I mean, we could still we could see a lot of like second, third, fourth best seasons from him coming soon.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen his second best season yet.
Yeah, we've seen his best season. I'm just gonna call that right
Yeah.
now. There's no way in hell he can replicate a 330, 460, 649, 1109 season with a 198 OPS plus.
Yeah, that would be very difficult, but
yeah,
he can
also
get
a 9.7
close.
WAR at B WAR.
Yeah, he
That's
can have an OPS over 1,000 again.
yeah.
But yeah, that's those are the all-star snubs, likes, dislikes, seeing what's
There's a lot
seeing
more,
what's
but I think
out
those are like
there.
the headliners.
Yeah, those are the headliners. Not too much to complain about outside of that. But one of the all-stars on that roster, unfortunately, not going to be playing as of a couple days ago. The guy who was the hottest hitter on the planet is unfortunately strained his hamstring, and this streak has to come to a close. Kyle Schwarber, after going on a 21 game run with a 1383 OPS, 16 home runs in those 21 games, he strained his hamstring and will be out for a significant amount of time, is what most people are saying, and definitely at least a month.
Yeah, this is such a tough time to come across an injury like this. If you're Kyle Schwarber, he was absolutely raking. He won Player of the Month in June. He hit, I think, like 12 home runs in 12 games, something like that. He became the only person to do that since Albert Bell, I believe it was, in 1995 on the 144 Indians. Yeah, this is just a really tough time for Kyle Schwarber to have an injury like this. Right before the All-Star game, right when he was, the team was rolling as he was rolling. They had just gotten over 500. They were in second place in a pretty competitive division. This is gonna hurt for them a lot, not just for Schwarber, but for the whole team.
Oh yeah, I think it's a huge thing for the team. As one thing I noted to you before recording was the Nationals, who have not been a great team this year, were 15-6 in this run, where he had 16 home runs in 21 games. Or if I just go to his last home run, he had 16 home runs in 18 games with a 1446 OPS. They were 14-4 in that run, which is even better winning percentage wise. And they faced the Giants, who are an extremely good team, Pirates not so much, Mets, the division leaders, Phillies, middle of the pack, Marlins, I would argue still middle of the pack, Mets for one game, and then the Rays for his last home run since or yeah his last home run of 2021 so far. Yeah, they went 14-4 in this stretch where he went like crazy, and yeah, he's the catalyst for why this was happening. And I don't have it prepared, but I want to see where their division ranking was beforehand and where it is and where it was when that home run streak sort of ended. So I think I'll look at that. Click on the.
They're in fourth place, like hovering down with the Marlins, and now they are in second in the division, just above the Braves.
Yeah, before this stretch, they were 25-34. And MLB scores and standings on this day. Where were the Nationals? National League East. Yeah, Nationals were in dead last place before Schwarber's crazy streak. Then they went 14-4 on the streak. Granted, the NL East isn't crazy deep this year. Everyone's kind of in the middle. And then on June 29th, the date of his last home run, where they won 4-3, so that home run obviously made a difference. The Nationals were, they were second, one game above 500, and now, after his last home run, they're 2-4 or something like that. I think, or 1-4. I'm not sure. They're 1-4, I think. 1-4, and they're 40
but
and
they also
42
did face
overall.
the Dodgers.
Yeah, they have been facing the Dodgers, so there's a correlation there. Maybe it would have happened had Schwarber not been in the lineup, but he overall major impact what he was doing. So I think the Nationals, and we'll get into trade deadline stuff later, not with the East, but I think this puts the Nationals in a more comfortable state of potentially selling.
Yeah, you're right, because I mean we've seen like a good like 20 game stretch in July can really screw a team up going forward.
A good 20 game stretch in July. A good the Pirates.
Yeah, that's thinking. I mean, I'm sure there's others as well.
Right. Oh yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I don't know what the Orioles were doing before they got Jeremy Hellickson.
Nothing.
That 1 year.
Oh, they were like 500.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what
They didn't
inspired
even
them.
good stretch. They were just like, well, we're 500. We made the playoffs last year. There's two very clearly better teams in this division than us. Let's go get Jeremy Hellickson and let's take on these Red Sox and Yankees.
Yeah.
That was so stupid.
It was weird. But, like we were saying, before this crazy stretch, the Nationals were 9 games below 500. It seemed pretty clear that they were going to sell at the deadline. Then they go 14-4. They're above 500. And it's, they were second in the division. So a playoff spot was not completely out of sight. And now I feel like, with Schwarber out of the lineup, I don't know what their upcoming schedule is. I can maybe look at that potentially, but I don't, if they are unable to win as well as they were while Schwarber was doing well. Maybe they're more comfortable trading a guy. The big piece being talked about is Max Scherzer, whose contract ends after this year. So, yeah, it could be a change.
You can.
Just gonna one last thing on the Nationals. I'll look at their July schedule and see if this changes anything. So yeah, they just got swept by the Dodgers in 4 games. That'll happen. Okay, yeah, they're going on the road to San Diego and San Francisco, and then they come back to Washington and face San Diego after the All-Star break, and
Yeah, they have a
then
tough schedule coming up.
Miami, Baltimore. So, I mean, I would imagine the Nationals don't do well, and I would imagine, yeah, the Nationals probably are more likely to sell off Max Scherzer if they do as they're supposed to do on the road against San Diego and San Francisco. So, kind of an eye opener. But I guess now we talk about each of the next 3 episodes we're going to talk about 2 divisions and what each team in that division should do come trade deadline time. So we're just going region by region, and we're going to start in the West because those teams, it's kind of more obvious what direction teams are going in, especially in the National League West. It's pretty obvious the direction teams are going in, and as we go throughout, we'll do the Central and the East, where it'll become more obvious where the direction is. So should we start like bottom to top?
Yeah, let's go bottom to top.
Do we want to? Okay, so we'll start with the D-backs. What do you think about the D-backs?
Well, I mean, there's obviously it's not been their year to say the very least, but when I wrote about them preseason, and I said that the most important thing for the Diamondbacks this year, obviously winning is what you want to do, but the most important thing for the Diamondbacks is to find their identity, because through 18, 19, and 20, they were very inconsistent. They were kind of middling around 500, maybe below that. They were very irrelevant. You know, obviously you never want to stretch like the Diamondbacks have had very recently, but at the very least, they know their identity, and that it's that they are selling. Like, there is no doubt about that. So as far as what you can sell, pretty obviously Eduardo Escobar is one of them. He's been in trade talks for a while now. That's a guy that you would look to sell off. David Peralta would probably be one as well. That's a guy where realistically, you know, you're probably not going to be able to pay him. You're probably not going to be able to keep him, and he's going to be a guy that you could probably get a decent amount of value for, because he's a decent player. Yeah, Eduardo Escobar is also a free agent at the end of the season, so there's really no point in keeping him. As far as upcoming free agents, there's no one else that they can really, like, I don't know, like, would a team really take much for Asdrubal Cabrera or for Stephen Vogt, Joaquim Soria? Like, all these guys are old, so that's not great. I don't think they trade Zach Gallen. I'd say that's the biggest guy on their team as far as like what they can get, but I just don't think they do it. But yeah, I'd say you obviously have to sell. I'd say sell David Peralta and sell Eduardo Escobar are the 2 most important things.
Yeah, they have to get whatever they can out of that. There's
and
obviously
maybe sell Ketel Marte as well.
Yeah,
Honestly,
if I were the
you know what? I'm gonna change that. Sell Ketel Marte. Do it, because do you really see the Diamondbacks competing in the next 5 years that are on his contract? Like, realistically, in the division they're in, do you see in the next 5 years the Diamondbacks will be competitive? Because
no.
they don't have a good farm either. No, I would sell Ketel Marte now. Honestly, I mean, his value is up. You're gonna get a lot for him. Teams are gonna be asking. Teams will be willing to give an arm and a leg for a guy who's only 27 and has 5 years left and is a very good player. Yeah, sell Ketel Marte. I think that happens as well.
Yeah, I think you try to get whatever you can out of Escobar and Peralta which is probably not going to be much. Honestly, I don't know if they get anyone that's going to be able to contribute to the Major League Ball club at all for either of those guys. I think Ketel Marte, I think maybe, and not because they're going to be competitive, but maybe you wait to trade him till next year because he's had injury issues this year and his value is not as high as it normally would be. Around
That's
this time,
fair.
he has team control through 2024, so he's going to be valuable for a while. I don't know what his specific injuries have been. Do you know what his injuries have been? They've been
I do not.
Ketel Marte injury. Ketel Marte hamstring, another hamstring thing. So, his muscles have, or his injury things have been, his injuries have been involved with muscle strains or what have you. So those are things that can linger. So I don't think teams are going to be taking out the biggest flyer for Marte, and I think that's why they also shouldn't trade Gallon this year, because Gallon has had trouble with his arm. Forearm tightness has been, a vocabulary word that has been expressed on Zach Gallen. So, they don't have the, even their best players aren't aren't as valuable as they normally would be because of injuries. So they're in a bad spot at the trade deadline. Try to get what you can out of Escobar and Peralta, like you said. Do we want to go?
Mm-hmm.
Do we want to just go through the NL West now, or go to the bottom of the AL West too?
Let's just go through the NL West.
All right. So Colorado Rockies. There's one big elephant in the room for sure.
Mm-hmm. I would say, I mean, obviously you go get Trevor Story. That's you trade him rather. He's a free agent to be at the end of the year. He's the best player on your team, probably. We've been saying that all year. As far as where to trade him, I'd say, look for teams that have had shortstop problems. There's one. Here's the problem. I'll just mention this now. I was gonna mention later, but like Oakland Athletics shortstops have been legendarily bad this year. But I just know that they're not gonna get Story because they're the Athletics, even though that is the move that would put them over the top.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, he has overall this year he's making 18.5 million. So if they would have to pay like 8 or 9 million in order to have Story for the year. And I don't know if that's something they're trying to do, especially when Story isn't having like his like career year. So yeah, I mean
And he was just hurt too, I believe.
yeah, like that's the great conflict that happens in Oakland. Like it would be an obvious fit, the most obvious fit.
Yeah.
I
mean, I know that Elvis Andrus has been doing a little bit better lately, but I mean, if we're talking Trevor Story versus Elvis Andrus going into a playoff run, and not only that, a division run, like they can the Astros. They're only like a game or so back from them. So like, why not? I mean, it's like you said, it's the obvious fit, but just because of who they are, it's hard to imagine it getting done.
Right.
Because I mean, how much time do they really have left in their window? Like this is the fourth year that they're competitive now.
Yeah, the Athletics. Yeah, fourth year.
There's a time to go for it. It would be right now. As far as the Rockies go, I'd say another possible person to trade would be C.J. Cron. He was my player to watch at the beginning of the season. He signed a 1-year minor league deal, and he's been pretty good for the Rockies. He has a 116 OPS plus, slashing 252, 356, 463, 819. So that was a good, flyer that the Rockies took. That'll probably get him something in a month or so.
Yeah, he's someone who American League teams would also probably like him because you can put him as a designated hitter. I feel like you mentioned the Rays DH problems. I was looking at it earlier. Their DH OPS is 12th in the American League, and maybe maybe trying to get Crone would be a good option for them. And if they don't want to spend
He's a former
whatever
Ray too.
Right, yeah. If they don't want to spend whatever $6 million on Nelson Cruz or whatever that will be, then yeah, that would be a good option. I don't know if they want to
It
get
would be.
a right-handed or left-handed specific guy. Also, someone I was looking at was Jonathan Gray or John Gray.
Mhm.
There's potentially, it's weird. I was looking at Marquez and Gray. They've had reverse Coors splits. Like they're doing better at home. I have no idea why.
Yeah.
It's the weirdest thing because I was about to say,
that was a thing with Scott Oberg before he got hurt.
right. Like I was thinking like, oh, get them out of Coors. They're going to be pretty good. And I'm thinking, and John Gray, maybe that's not the case. I'm not sure. But
Another
yeah,
possible guy would be like Daniel Bard, maybe. Like if a team needs a closer, he's been doing pretty well. He's throwing harder than he ever has in his age 35 season.
right. Yeah, John Gray, 117 ERA plus. I think Daniel Bard is around the same. So, valuable assets to be had. And nothing
Yeah.
you're going to get a crazy amount for outside of Story, but those are probably guys that will be moving. Anything more?
Nothing that I got now.
All right, the Padres. The Padres are weird because there's no real obvious spot where they need to fill, but they're gonna go for something. You know that.
Hang on, Chris. I got a stat for you. The Padres, and this is the problem because I just don't think this is something they can fix. But the Padres have negative 0.8 F4 out of their first baseman this season, which is last in the majors.
Well, yeah, they're not gonna replace him.
They can't just like, I mean, I wanted to say go out and maybe trade for CJ Crone, but like they can't. Like they're already paying their first baseman $20 million this year.
Right. That's an issue.
Yeah, so that's not good. As far as just general team stuff, I mean Blake Snell hasn't been what you want him to be, which is a problem.
Yeah.
Obviously.
I was thinking they could get a more middle of the rotation guy, or not necessarily top of the line pitcher like Max Scherzer, but maybe someone you stick in like the 2 or 3 spot. I think a good fit for the Padres might be Jose Barrios.
Yeah, no, that'd be perfect. That's a guy who probably could. That's a guy who could have a resurgence. Going into San Diego, like we all know the potential that he has. We've seen his stuff, and the Twins are obviously going to be trading him. So I wouldn't be surprised if that happens.
Yeah, and I mean I don't know how many prospects the Padres have left to give. I don't think they're giving up Mackenzie Gore for anybody at this deadline. They've stayed away from him throughout all the trades that they've made.
Mhm.
So it wouldn't make sense for them to let him go now that he's probably very, very close to a big league level. That's, honestly, with Snell in the IL, I don't know why they wouldn't think about bringing him up, but I'm not in the scouting department or anything. But yeah, I mean, maybe, CJ Abrams is still very valuable. So maybe he's someone that they let go of in a trade.
That would be a perfect trade piece because he's a shortstop and they got that covered for the next 13 years, 14 years.
Absolutely. Yeah, like he's only there to be traded right now in that Padres organization, unless, even at second, like you have Jake Cronenworth at second base. Do you really want to mess with that right now? Like,
no.
Yeah, he's meant.
I know that he's
meant to be traded.
I know that he's like in his late 20s because he was a career minor league guy. I think he played 500 games in the minors, But you even have Ha-Sung Kim, who I believe signed a 4-year deal with the Padres. I can look that up. Yeah, it
That
was a 4-year,
sounds
$28
right.
million deal with a mutual option for 2025.
Right. So I don't know. I don't know what type of option they would need to give up CJ Abrams. It might not be a Barrios type guy. It might be someone like Max Scherzer, who they would have to give up Abrams for. But I don't know. Like Barrios brings value because he also has 2022 locked up. Like he's locked up for 2022 as well.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know, maybe like what about like a Kyle Gibbs?
Yeah, well, Kyle, we're gonna get into Gibson, and yeah, I mean,
Sure.
he has an ERA below 2 at the moment. That's probably not sustainable. He's more of probably by the end of the season, we probably will look at him like a number 2 starter. So yeah, I think it would make sense. I don't know what the Rangers asking price is going to be on him, due to the fact that he's having an unexpectedly great season. He's not someone with the reputation like Scherzer, so he's probably not going to get as much play. So it's a very interesting dilemma there. But I mean, the guy's having, he's on the All-Star team and very deservedly so. So I think, yeah, if the Padres want to go out and get him, but a Barrios type guy, you pretty much know what his value is going to be. He's actually had some of the most like consistent numbers in baseball. Just looking at like his ERA and stuff is pretty funny. So Barrios, what his value is going to be. Gibson, it's kind of more unpredictable.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
So Padres, yeah, you probably look more at the rotation. You have your ace pretty much. Yu Darvish is your ace, and then Lamet, you don't know his health. Musgrove has been a good surprise, but probably long term probably a 2 or 3 starter. Snell is on the IL. Weathers is interesting. I don't know how many innings he's getting per start now. So yeah, there's some question marks in the rotation. So maybe you kind of get another guy to strengthen that. Dodgers Dodgers are in second place now.
The Dodgers are like the most complete team, it feels like, so it really is difficult thinking of potential trades. But what if I told you this, Chris? The Dodgers have a recent history of just going all in, regardless of how good they were beforehand. They traded for Mookie Betts the year after they had the best record in the majors and didn't lose anyone particularly. They went out and got Trevor Bauer after winning a World Series. And obviously, we don't know what the future looks like with Trevor Bauer right now. So who says they don't go out and get Max Scherzer?
Yeah, I mean, that they would do that. They would do that for sure.
They would do that. Like they still have a lot of guys on the farm. They can give Washington a decent asking price. But I mean, who says they don't go out and do it? Imagine Kershaw, Buehler, Scherzer in your rotation. Like, I think the Dodgers, they have the guts to go out and do it. It's just a matter of if Washington wants to really give him up or not, especially to that team.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, the future is very uncertain with Bauer. They already lost Dustin May for this year and pretty much next year. So, yeah, it's kind of a guarantee they're going to want another starting pitcher if they want to take this World Series run, this back-to-back run seriously, as they obviously, have shown to be doing. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a guarantee they will end up with another starting pitcher, and I don't see why it can't be Max Scherzer.
I think I just talked myself into the fact that it's guaranteed.
Guaranteed Scherzer to
the Dodgers. Like, it almost makes too much sense.
Yeah, I'm trying to see their prospects, I mean, where they
Their farm system, yeah. I mean, they have like one of the best ones in the league, and guess what? You know, if you have like a really good outfield prospect, it's like you have Mookie Betts locked up, you have AJ Pollock locked up, even if he's not exactly what you hope for. You have Chris Taylor for another 2 years. Like this, they've proven that they can trade virtually anyone and remain very good.
yeah.
I mean, like
I mean, I'm trying to. Their farm system isn't top heavy necessarily. Like it definitely was at a point when they had May and Lux as prospects, and Verdugo as a prospect. I wonder if they do end up trying to trade for Scherzer, if they end up having to like give up some big league talent.
I mean, who are players with like, I don't know, maybe like an Edwin Rios or like a Gratterall or like a Gonsolin maybe.
Yeah, a Gonsolin
Because
type maybe.
let's not forget that like this is Max Scherzer is a rental. You're only getting him for 2 months, so it's not like they're gonna really have to give up an arm and a leg for him, even if he is Max Scherzer.
Right, yeah, and when Corey Seager comes back, I think, like, I don't know where the Dodgers are at with Gavin Lux right now. He hasn't had the greatest of seasons, and I guess this is his first full year, so yeah, I guess they're gonna hold on to him probably no matter what. But yeah, it's interesting. They don't have anyone in the top 40 for prospects, so yeah, I don't know what the you don't know what the Nationals asking price is going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, when Verlander got,
get into the Giants now.
Sure. Well,
okay.
when Verlander got traded
go ahead.
When Verlander got traded to the Astros, I mean, I don't even remember who got traded to Detroit. Do you remember?
I remember Daz. He played for my local minor league team.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's about.
Yeah, it's
all I can tell you there. And he's been hitting some home runs recently for the Tigers.
Yeah, but nothing too crazy. But I guess it was like a situation where Verlander made so much money that it was basically like kind of a free agent signing in a way for 2 years or whatever. But anyway, off of that, we can get into stuff like that later. Yeah, the Giants, San Francisco Giants. All right, so we were pondering the Giants approach for the trade deadline for a while. It actually took about 18 hours ish, and we're finally here. We're finally ready to talk about the Giants. So, luckily we have the edit button, and we can get into it. So, yeah, the division leading Giants.
Yeah.
You mentioned before recording potential bullpen piece for the Giants.
I mean, I think that's the pretty obvious thing. The starting pitching has been the storyline of the year for them. They've been outperforming expectations completely. Like they have a 4-man playoff rotation right now with Kevin Gausman, Alex Wood, Anthony Descalfani, and Johnny Cueto. Like that's right now, like that's not bad at all. And I think certainly you could always use another arm, but if you could get that, but if that's your 4-man rotation going into a playoff series, like that's not something to complain about. The lineup has also been excellent this year. I think they have the 3rd highest position player F4 in the majors. But the only thing is just you might want to get another bullpen piece. Matt Whistler was a guy who was a complete flop for them. Bullpen was an issue for them last time they were competitive as well. You could use another closer. I think the obvious name out there would be Richard Rodriguez from the Pirates, one of Chris's How About That's and players to watch. That's someone who I think you can go and get.
Yeah, I think also, and this is not, they're probably not going to go out and get someone, and I don't even know if this guy's going to get traded, but I think they could benefit from a guy like maybe Adam Frazier. They've had not as much production out of the second base spot, and he can also help out your outfield. So I think he would be a nice addition to any team, and because of his versatility. But also I think the Giants, they've gotten production out of most of their positions, and even second base and outfield. Outfield's been good. Second base hasn't been awful, but I think they could benefit from some Adam Frazier in their lives. Maybe, I don't know.
They certainly could. Tommy LaStella was their second baseman at the start of the season, but he's currently on the 60-day IL, which he went down on in the beginning of May. So there still isn't necessarily a timetable for his return, but yeah, that's something that definitely can be looked at. As far as other injuries, I mean, Evan Longoria should be back soon, hopefully. He was expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks about 4 weeks ago, so hopefully in the next 2 weeks. But you also have Brandon Belt that's hurt. He's on the 10-day IL with no timetable for return with knee inflammation. Um, so the Giants, they do have their concerns, but I don't think other than maybe Tommy LaStella, I don't think anyone that's hurt is probably going to be hurt for the rest of the year, and they'll be back come playoff time. So, yeah, I mean, I do think Adam Frazier would be a good option at second base. Especially if Listella's not coming back, Frazier's a very similar type of player. They're both left-handed. They're both, contact hitters. I'd say Frazier has a bit more power. Yeah, I mean, they'd play similar roles, and I think that'd be. I like that idea from you.
Uh, yeah, and Donovan Solano has been taking most of the reps at second base, and he has
Mhm.
a 699 OPS. D- you know,
Not the
it's
worst, but
pretty average. Yeah, it's pretty average for especially for a
mhm.
second baseman. But I think Frazier could put that position particularly over the top, and I don't think he would cost. I don't think it would cost too much. I don't think. Yeah, I don't think he's like that much of
No.
a star that he's going to cost a lot. But yeah. Anything more on the Giants before we head into
Nah,
the
I
AL
mean,
West?
I think it's pretty simple. Like, I think the most important thing is to go out and get another reliever. Uh, I don't even know if it necessarily has to be a closer. Who's their closer right now? Uh, let's see. Looks like
Jake McGee.
Tyler Rogers and Jake McGee as co-closers. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, I would, yeah, definitely get another reliever. Uh, Regardless of whether it's a closer or not.
Yeah, you could always use help there.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, you're never
Yeah, I
you
mean,
can
like,
never have too many relievers on a team. Um, so yeah, that's the National League West, and now we get into the other league in the West, the American League West, and we start from bottom to top. And personally, I think the Rangers are in a great position to sell at the trade deadline, meaning they have some assets to trade off.
yeah, one of my biggest concerns with the Rangers this year was that they really only had one legitimate, like, valuable trade asset in Joey Gallo. I think there's no doubt that Joey Gallo should probably be going. I think he's got, what, 2 years left on his deal this year and next year?
Um, it's either 2 years or 1 year. It might be 2 years. I don't know.
Yeah, something like that. That's definitely important. But then you also have, we talked earlier about Kyle Gibson, how he might be a good fit for the Padres. That's someone who, you've gotten a lot more out of him than you expected. He's got like an ERA around 2, even close to sub 1. That's someone who you're gonna want to let go of now that he's at peak value. Um, but now, like, I don't know, where does it go beyond that? Like, maybe do you trade Nate Lowe? Probably not, because he's 26 and he's been doing fairly well. I will say the Rangers have a lot more talent than I'd say most people thought at the beginning of the year. You've had guys like Nick Solak, Nate Lowe, Adolis Garcia, Isaiah Kiner Falefa that have all kind of broken out in some sort of way this year. So that's been very encouraging. By the way, uh, in their Fangraphs listed like go-to starting lineup, Joey Gallo and Isaiah Kiner-Falefa are the only homegrown players, which is pretty interesting. So they've kind of built their team around others.
Yeah, weird.
Yeah.
Weird that
Um.
weird how that turned out.
Yeah. Like I don't think you're gonna be able to trade Mike Foltynewicz for anything. That guy's kind of cooked. It seems, unfortunately. Um. Maybe Ian Kennedy in your bullpen. That could probably be another one.
Yeah, I put down 3 players. It was Gallo, Gibson, and Kennedy. Kennedy's got a 2.86 ERA on the year. He's 14 for 15 in save opportunities. Very good. And I'm trying to look at if peripherals might affect him. Not really. A 3.60 expected ERA. So he's not far off from what's on the field. So
Yeah.
very good. Very good stuff right there. So like, yeah, the Kennedy could be a, surprisingly for the for the Rangers, he could be a trade asset. He's got a weird ground ball, fly ball, line drive scenario. He's got a 29.7% ground ball rate. Weird.
Huh. That's not
The
very
league
good.
the league average is 45%.
Yeah.
But I mean, expected ERA still is not very high. You would expect it to be higher, but not the case. So yeah, Gallo Gallo is probably might be their most valuable just because we've seen him have success before. So that would be a good thing. You can put him in an outfield, make him an everyday starter. Gibson also. The Rangers cannot make the same mistake with Gibson as they did with Mike Minor 2 years ago, and just let him fall off maybe next year and not be a valuable trade whatsoever. I mean, this is as good as it's going to get for Kyle Gibson, I would imagine. I don't think it gets much better than this. So you got to get rid of him as soon as possible.
Yeah. Absolutely. The Rangers, they've put themselves in a much better position than I thought they were going to be preseason. So, embrace the rebuild right now. Everyone else in your division, at the very least, is on the come up. So, um, yeah, I mean, you're just gonna have to, it's obviously not fun to be in a position like this, but the reality is, at least and you're not sort of just hovering around trying to figure out what you are, sort of awkwardly not really buying or selling at the deadline. So, yeah, trade Gallo, trade Gibson, and trade Kennedy.
Yeah, and I think they can get some good prospects out of this trade deadline if they play it right and get rid of all 3 of them. I'm wondering if they will have 2 in the same trade, and that could really
Mm-hmm.
get a good prospect rolling. But
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see if a team has particular needs like that. All right. Now on to Anaheim with the Angels. 4th place right now, hovering around 500. Um, you know, not really in a competitive or non-competitive situation.
Yeah.
So yeah, Los Angeles Angels, what do you have them doing?
Yeah, I mean, this is the first team where we don't really know what kind of position they're in, but I'd say, like, I mean, I don't think they really have much talent that they can sell. Like, yeah, they have a lot of talent, but like, I mean, who out of that group are you going to give away? Because I think this team is close. Like, I really do. Like, they're 500 right now without Mike Trout, who was just transferred to the 60-day IL, and Rendon has been underperforming. So like when you get those two, back to form, and you don't even need Shohei. Like it's obviously a big reason is because of Shohei having the best, being one of the best hitters in the league and also a very very good pitcher. Uh, you don't even necessarily need that from him, but it's a blessing that you have it right now. Um, so I mean, the obvious thing is you need starting pitching. That goes without saying at this point. the Angels for way too long have tried to rely on, homegrown starting pitching. It just hasn't really worked. Griffin Canning is still a work in progress. Andrew Heaney is very inconsistent. It's a weird. It's Patrick Sandoval, same thing. Like they're just, I don't know. It feels like they're just trying too hard or something.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a bad situation.
And their bullpen's pretty bad too, I believe. Their starting pitching has a flat 5 ERA, which is I think fifth worst in the league. And their bullpen, where is the Angels bullpen here? Yeah, they have a 4.70 ERA with a 4.52 FIP. That's not good. Their bullpen is 4.36 walks per nine. That's pretty ugly.
Yeah, for the Angels, I think they should give away Raisel Iglesias for something. He's
Okay.
his contract comes up at the end of the year, so I think they should try to get something for him,
That's
and
interesting.
maybe try to. I don't know if they can't really get anything out of Andrew Heaney or Dylan Bundy, especially like
Oh, Dylan Bundy too. Yeah. Well, yeah, Dylan Bundy's a free agent to be.
yeah, he's a free agent at the end of the year, and unfortunately, he's turned himself into nothing really valuable at all. That someone you can't really get anything for at this point, I would imagine.
Yeah, no.
Uh, with a mid to upper six ERA, so that's an issue. So they're not really going to get anything there. If they do end up making a like buy move, trying to add to the major league roster, they can't get someone who will only contribute in 2021.
It's got to be a long-term guy. You're right.
Yeah, like the pretty much what the Mets did in 2019,
With
where
Stroman. Yeah.
it was like they were kind of on the comeback trail, but probably not going to make the playoffs. So they got Stroman for 2019 and 2020. And I mean, I guess it didn't work out for 2020, but he took that qualifying offer, and now he's contributing. But yeah, I think it would have to be a situation where he has to be contributing for at least 2022. Maybe like a Barrios, or I don't know if they would do an intradivisional Gibson deal, um, but I don't even know if they should be going after guys like that quite yet. But anything more on the Angels?
Why couldn't they have just like signed Wade Miley this offseason?
Right. Yeah.
Why? I mean, I get that he had a 5.6 ERA the year before, and Perry probably wasn't going for a 33-year-old or for a 34-year-old who just said that. But I mean, like, I don't know. That seems like that was very feasible for the Angels to do.
Yeah, and they just ended up getting Quintana and Cobb.
Yeah. Which, like, Cobb had really good peripherals, but he also had, I think, like, high exit velocity against too. I don't know. The Angels are like we've been having. I mean, the baseball world has been having this particular discussion for what feels like centuries now. It's been so long. It's just they need to build a starting staff around him. And I know that you see Brian Kenny has been perpetuating using Shohei as a reliever.
Uh, no, I haven't.
He said like event like he's gonna break down more basically if he keeps starting, being a starting pitcher and hitting at the same time because like Babe Ruth like had a major fall off as a pitcher when he was doing both at the same time, which I don't know. Like I know it's kind of weird to go off an argument that's 100 years old, but like I don't know, doesn't that does kind of seem to make sense, especially because he's like he's a guy with high velocity, uh, and he's had health issues in the past, so maybe maybe like I don't want to say a lighter workload, but I mean like if you only had him going a few innings every few games instead of like 6 7 innings once a week, I feel like that would make sense.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. I definitely see that. But I mean, I don't. I've been kind of waiting for this to break down like as it is. Like it I feel like the Shohei Ohtani thing is a little too good to be true right now in his 2021 form. So,
Mm-hmm.
it would be it would be very hard for him to maintain this. So yeah, I could see this being a possibility where he would not be able to hold this together for this long. Um, I'm actually looking at Babe Ruth's pitching stats right now.
His walk numbers were brutal.
Right. Uh, and his strikeout numbers went down. His peak pitching year was 1916 when he was 21 years old, where he won the ERA title.
Strictly a pitcher.
Yeah, strictly a pitcher, won the ERA title, had 9 shutouts, which led the league. And then he had a 128 ERA plus in 1917, a 122 in 1918, a 102 in 1919, and then I think that's when he stopped, and the innings production after 1917 dropped off as well. So I mean, I get it's you don't want to make assumptions based off of 100 years, but logically it makes sense.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Um, so on to the streaking Mariners, who maybe their trade deadline position has changed, but I'm not exactly sure. The Mariners are always weird because they're just going to make one weird trade that you don't know if they're buying or
Mm-hmm.
selling.
I mean, Jerry DePoto has guaranteed one thing. It's he's just gonna do something. Doesn't matter what it is. He's gonna do something. That's been the thing ever since he came into that office. It's been the memo, I guess. Um, yeah, the Mariners. I was actually looking at putting Adam Frazier on their radar because they've also gotten limited production from second base this year. Um, so that's what I was thinking there.
Uh-huh.
But they're in a similar position with the Angels where they need if they're gonna trade for someone, it's got to be a long term. It's got to be a more long term thing. They're not here to get rentals because realistically, they have two very clearly better teams than them in their division. But this team like they have the potential to do it in the future. JB Crawford has broken out this year. Ty France has been pretty excellent. Jake Fraley's been really good recently. You have Kelenic and you have Rodriguez who are still trying to figure it out in the minors, and that's all right. They don't need him right now. Yusei Kikuchi has obviously been uh, breaking out this year. He's an all-star. The only problem is Marco Gonzalez has been struggling, but bullpen as well. Kendall Graveman has broken out. Um, I mean, I'd say if you're gonna buy, get another reliever because, I mean, Kendall Graveman has been very good, but is his option up this year?
Yeah, his contract ends this year.
Yeah. So you're gonna want to get him back. You're gonna get Ken Giles back next year from Tommy John surgery.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah, you are. I mean,
Um
like, I don't know. What do you have from this team other than like? I mean, I'd say if you really want to go for it, go get Adam Frazier. But I mean, other than that, like, I'd say maybe another arm and on both ends. Because by the way, Justice Sheffield, is still very much still a work in progress as well.
yeah,
Like
he is very
he's
very
yeah.
much.
Chris Flexen has been a nice surprise for them this year. He was a KBO free agent signing. He's been performing very well for them.
Yeah, I
Marco
mean,
Gonzalez has struggled. Logan Gilbert's still got to develop. This is a very, very young team. Like they just gotta. I'd say, just keep looking ahead to the future. Like this year, like it'd be cool to break through and make it this year, but that shouldn't be the number one priority over the future because that's when this team is destined for really good success.
yeah, I wouldn't say to necessarily buy or sell with this team. I know that Jerry DePoto is going to do something
Hmm.
odd, and I mean
Yeah.
I don't know. Like people talk about him, I mean, none of the deals. I guess maybe Taylor Trammell is doing well this year, but most of the deals he does seem to be kind of ineffective either way. Like that, he doesn't seem to
Or
win.
or like insignificant too.
yeah, he doesn't seem to win deals, but or even like Taylor Trammell's not doing great this year, like his 626 OPS.
Yeah.
None of the deals he does seems to be that effective. So, I mean, people talk about, oh, it's Jerry Dipoto who's going to do some deal, but it never ends up really doing anything. So we'll do one of those probably.
Yeah. Yep. Like when he
And
traded Mike Leake to the Diamondbacks.
right, yeah,
That was a great deal.
yeah, it's
Oh, do you think?
interesting.
I know that Mitch Haniger has been on some teams' radar. I think he's got 2 years left on his deal. And you have a lot of outfielders coming up in your system. Do you maybe try to work a Mitch Haniger trade, or do you wait on that? I'd say you wait on that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's had he had a bad month of June, I'm pretty sure. So I
Yeah,
don't
I mean,
know
like
if teams
where
are going
does
to be
he
buying.
fit, and where does he fit into the future puzzle? If you have Kelnick, Rodriguez, Trammell, uh, in the outfield, you also have some others as well. I can't think of names at the moment, but like they got a pretty stacked outfield out there going forward.
Kyle Lewis.
Kyle Lewis, yeah, he's been hurt, and that's why I
Yeah.
didn't look at him. Yeah, I mean, you got Kyle Lewis, Taylor Trammell, Jared Kelnick, and Julio Rodriguez. Like, where is Mitch Haniger fitting in?
Yeah, he doesn't. He's
Especially
30
because
years
he's
old right now.
he's in his age 30 season. Like, maybe I don't think you trade him now. I'd say you wait for that. Um, but
Could
yeah,
be
I
an
think that's something.
off-season move.
Yeah, keep it in the back of your mind because that probably will be relevant at some point.
Yeah, if he has a good July, I would trade him.
Yeah,
He's under control through 2022. Just I mean, there's really he doesn't really fit necessarily into the future of the Diamondback or the Mariners. He
Mariners
didn't
or
fit.
the Diamondbacks. He didn't fit in the future of the Diamondbacks before. We know that.
Yeah, he didn't. And yeah,
Remember that trade was made the night before Thanksgiving. I was at my aunt's house and I was just like, it was what like Taiwan Walker to the Diamondbacks, Ketel Marte to the Mariners, Mitch Haniger to the Mariners, and there's one other that went from Seattle to Arizona. Maybe it was the other way around rather.
I'm not sure. It was
It was a cool trade.
yeah, it was nice. Classic Dipoto.
Oh, Gene Segura. Gene Segura was in that trade as well.
Yeah, not winning too big, not losing too big. That's the Dipoto way. So yeah, Mariners interesting situation. I think if Haniger can pull it together in July, you give him to a team that maybe like lost out on Gallo, and then it's like, oh, we can get another outfielder with somewhat good offensive production. The Oakland A's, I think their holes are pretty obvious, and it's weird. You don't know what they're gonna do.
Yeah, you don't. This is, I mentioned it earlier. Like, there's a perfect big trade this team can make, but just because of who they are, they're not going to do it.
Right.
Which is just sad. Elvis Andrus is currently their 2-hitter and starting shortstop, and I understand that he's been a little bit better lately, but there's a very good rental shortstop out there for a team that's going for it like Oakland is.
Yeah. Yeah, you got Trevor Story out there, but he's getting paid $18.5 million this year. If he went to Oakland, now, it would be, they'd have to pay him like $9 million. If it was at the deadline, it would be around $8 million. So, that Oakland doesn't like to pay too much for their players. They're always on a budget. But also, I think the Athletics could use DH help, as actually, I don't know if the stats are updated, but the last time I checked, they were 13th in the AL in DH OPS. So, it's another situation of like, would they be willing to get a guy like Nelson Cruz, who is getting paid $13 million this year? He's a little cheaper than Trevor Story.
Yeah.
Maybe they go after him, or yeah, I mean, like the previously mentioned CJ Crone, maybe they kind of downsize, more downsize and get him, take him from uh, a very hitter friendly environment to a very pitcher friendly
Yeah,
environment, but
that's true.
nonetheless, he could help.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they do have their options, and I think that they're a team that will go out and make moves even if they limit themselves financially. Um, could they use another arm too?
Yeah, their starting rotation has been oddly good, better than usual.
Yeah.
I you know I don't know what cheap options are out there for starting pitchers. Guys that aren't making much money
Hmm.
this year. I also am curious to know like how all in the A's will be this year because it's you know
Well, let's see. Who are their
remember
pending
in
free agents?
because 2014 way back 7 years ago they were particularly all in. Like they got John Lester, they got Jeff Samardzija. They traded away Yoenis Cespedes and Addison Russell, and really went all in for that particular year. Particular year, and I know there's a new front office situation there now, so maybe
Yeah.
it won't repeat history. But I wonder if they'll make some surprising move this year.
Side note: I just found out Mark Canha is a free agent to be. That's a
Uh,
great under the radar option for a team this offseason, but that's besides the point.
yep.
I mean that's really the only I'd say big free agent to be on the offense for the A's. They also I guess Jed Lowry too, but I mean that's a guy the A's can afford to get back. He's done so many uh tenures with them. Trevor Rosenthal, Mike Fiers, Yusmeiro Petit, Sergio Romo, Mitch Moreland, Jed Lowry, and Mark Canha are all free agents to be with Oakland. Um, yeah, I mean, I think this is a team that they can use like one of everything. I feel like, except for maybe bullpen. Their bullpen's been shaky lately, but on paper, like they should be able to figure it out by the time October comes. But I'd say the main idea is get another bat. It doesn't even
Uh,
really have to be a specific type of bat, like a power bat or a contact bat. Just another bat, because I mean, they have I think Elvis Andrews is like 54 weighted runs created plus or something like that.
right. Yeah. Yeah. You could use some help. You can use some help there. I mean, yeah, like you mentioned, the obvious move is to try and get Trevor Story. It's just a real big question mark as to if they will do that.
It's not even a question mark. It's just a no, they won't.
Right, right. I don't know. I think there's like a 20% chance of it happening. I'm feeling generous with the A's. I don't know. Uh, I feel like maybe it could happen, but I mean, yeah, starting pitching wise, I mean, I don't know if they go out and get somebody. I think the last time, like, when was the last time they really traded for someone who had a good market, like Mike Fiers in 2018? I'm not sure.
If you can even consider that. I mean, I don't know. Like I'm
Yeah,
still thinking John Lester.
yeah, John. Yeah, pretty much John Lester.
Because
Um,
like after 2015 and after 2014, they fire sailed the team. They sold Donaldson. They sold all those guys, and they weren't competitive again until 18.
right. Yeah, I mean, I think they'll get a bullpen arm for sure because
Yeah.
outside of Trevino, Petit, and Diekman, it's not amazing as you would expect the A's bullpen to be. It's been like good, but not amazing. So I would expect them to get someone like I don't know, Iglesias, Raisel Iglesias, or something like that. Uh, something to help the team out.
Hmm.
But I don't know, intradivisional stuff. All right, and lastly, we will get to the Houston Astros. There's one sect of the team that I specifically would look at. What do you have on the Astros?
Is it bullpen?
Yeah,
Yeah. Then no, you're not wrong. They have the 17th highest bullpen wins above replacement according to Fangraphs in the
18th,
majors.
18th in bullpen ERA in the MLB. It's the
Yeah.
worst of the division leaders. So they're probably going to be the biggest hunters of reliever arms.
Yeah. We already mentioned. I'll just go and look at some more relievers in the market because we already mentioned Richard Rodriguez. That's like probably the headliner, I'd say. As far as other trade candidates, Ryan Presley is their best reliever. That's not even a discussion, I don't think.
Right, right.
Um, who else? There's a lot of good arms in the Orioles bullpen, but I don't know. Like, I think they're all lefty specialists.
Right. And the thing with the
Like Paul Fry, Tanner Scott.
the thing with the Astros is they're not afraid to buy. They're not afraid to put their foot on the gas pedal, so to say. So
Mm-hmm.
they will do just about any. Well, I mean, we know from we know from 2017 they would do just about anything
Oh,
to
yeah.
win.
That was 2018, but yeah,
Uh,
that was real ugly. And you know what? This might be kind of an all-in year. I know we talked about this last year, but like, when does the door close on this team? Because no one expected them to be in this position without Verlander, without Springer. But next year, Greinke's a free agent, Correa's a free agent, and that's pretty much it amongst the guys you're losing. But I mean, if the Cubs have lost 10 straight, and there's a plethora of guys over there, that the Astros could probably go get. I mean, I'd say if you can get one of those guys from the Cubs, whether it's Ryan Tepera, whether it's
Craig
I just had a
Kimbrell.
name in my head. Craig Kimball's the big one. Yeah, you could probably go get him if you really wanted to. You could probably get Andrew Chafin. Like, there's plenty of names out there in that Chicago bullpen if they're gonna continue to be on this slide.
Yeah, that's been
Especially because
alarming.
the Cubs. Like, we'll talk about this next episode, but the Cubs have a lot of huge decisions to make because this year is the end of an era for them.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. With the Astros, it's obvious they need bullpen help. Everything else has been as good as it can be, pretty much. Yeah, their bullpen ERA 18th in Major League Baseball. So, uh, that's not something you want as a division leader in baseball. So yeah, it just get the most obvious. You just got to get the most obvious bullpen choices out there, whoever they may be. And
Hmm.
I feel like they're not that obvious this year. Pretty
No,
much.
no,
Usually
you're
it's
right.
usually it's pretty clear who the bullpen choices are. 2016 you had Chapman and Miller, uh, were the two guys you had to go after. even like 2019, it was just a question mark of who the Giants were going to give up. You thought maybe Will Smith would get traded or something. Shane Green was an obvious guy that was going to get traded. Yeah.
Yep.
It's just not that obvious this year. All right. So, anything more on the Astros?
I think that's about it.
All right. That leads into uh, the part we've most prepared for. Our players to highlight for good and bad reasons. So we'll start off with our. We will start off with our Tuesday,
Tuesday.
July 6th, 2021 edition of. So who do you have to highlight for good
So,
reasons today?
very recently in the college baseball realm, Mississippi State pulled a huge upset by beating Vanderbilt in the finals. Yeah, they rocked. They got Kumar Rocker in the third game, and one of the standout players from Mississippi State was Will Bednar, who was a pitcher who I think pitched 2 games, went like 18 innings, did very well. But what people don't know is that Will has a brother named David, David Bednar in the Pirates organization, who has been killing it this year, and no one really knows. He is in the 85th percentile in average exit velocity, 88th percentile in hard hit rate, 88th percentile in expected WOBA slash xERA, 87th percentile in expected batting average, 79th percentile in expected slugging, 87th percentile in K percentage, 80th percentile in whiff percentage, 79th percentile in chase rate, and 92nd percentile on fastball velocity. And even with that impressive fastball velocity, his split finger has been his most effective pitch so far this year. There are 30 pitchers to have accumulated at least 10 plate appearances with their splitter slash split finger. And among them, David Bednar ranks 5th in run value with -3, 11th in average against with a 179, 11th in slugging against with a 256, 9th in WOBA with a 226, 9th in expected ERA with a 159, 13th in expected slugging with a 260, and 12th in expected WOBA with a 217. So David Bednar, not really getting the recognition he deserves out of the Pirates bullpen, and his brother Will, who's in college, is getting more recognition.
Yeah, David Bednar.
How about that?
Yeah, very interesting. He's looked at the Savant page, getting a little unlucky. When you think about it, 3.38 ERA, 2.93.
I was gonna say he's
ERA.
an elite reliever masquerading behind a 3.38 ERA.
Yeah, that'll happen with the Pirates defense behind you. It's kind of a trend with Pirates pitchers. All right. So for my how about that, he's actually previously mentioned, because he was an all-star, and you mentioned he had a very good month of June. German Marquez, talking about German Marquez, he has a 0.93 ERA in 29 innings pitched in his last 4 starts. And in this span, his ground ball percentage is 66.2% on batted ball events. And overall, his ground ball rate this year has never been higher. And this is despite his sinker usage being at its lowest since 2016. And the answer for his increase in ground balls may actually be his four-seam fastball, which is, four-seam fastballs, you never know that as a prototypical ground ball pitch, but his fastball spin rate is at the lowest it's ever been, and his four-seam fastball has never had more vertical drop. The trend in the 2021 game is to get the spin rate as high as possible and have that vertical rise, but is just the opposite with German Marquez, and being in Coors Field has a lot to do with that, because when you look at the vertical drop leaderboards, it's a lot of Rockies at the bottom. But German Marquez specifically, he has spent his whole career in Colorado, and this is the lowest his spin rate has ever been, and it's like the most success he's had with his fastball. So pretty interesting how he's kind of gone against the baseball grain. His four-seam fastball vertical drop is the 19th lowest out of 401 qualifiers. That's in the bottom 5% in vertical drop. And the launch angle against his four-seam fastball is 0 degrees, which is the lowest it's ever been. And in his last 4 starts, there have been 36 batted balls against his four-seam fastball. 26 of them have been ground balls. That's 72% of batted balls on the fastball being ground balls. So, he's not making any particular adjustment to get more ground balls. It's just his fastball is spinning less, which is providing more ground balls. Usually as spin rate increases, fly ball and pop-up rate increases if you use it correctly. If you look at the high spin rate guys, they're usually high fly ball guys. When it's the opposite, they're usually ground ball guys. So German Marquez is working with a lower spin rate, and it's working out for him. So German Marquez.
How about that?
So now we go from the highs to the lows. where we're talking about players or subjects that have not been doing well. Now for our Tuesday, July 6th, 2021 edition of
Slightly alarming.
So Who has been on your radar for bad reasons?
Yeah. I am looking at a guy who became came up last year as like with like superstar potential. He took the world by storm last year, and he's been underperforming year round, but he's been particularly bad lately. I'm looking at Randy Arozarena, who's been struggling this entire year. His expected WOBA, expected batting average, expected slugging, barrel percentage, strikeout percentage, whiff rate, and outfielder jump are all in the bottom 35 percentile in the league this season. And since June 18th, he is slashing 157, 267, 196, 463 with 37 weighted runs created plus. That 196 slugging that he has since that date is tied for second worst among 179 qualifiers. And also with batted balls, since June 18th as well, 23 of his 37 batted balls have had a launch angle above 35 degrees or below negative 15 degrees. That is 62.1% of his batted balls that virtually have no chance of being a hit based on where they're hit in relation to the ground, basically, and off the bat. So Randy Arozarena has been struggling a lot recently.
Yeah, Randy Arozarena.
Slightly alarming.
Been a bad year for American League Rookie of the Year predictions. I think Arozarena was a favorite. Jared Kelenic was a favorite. He, got sent down this year. Potentially, there's hope
Wander
for Wander Franco.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's too early to say it's been a bust because he's still. I mean, as far as rookie year goes,
Right.
He's only played like what 10, 11 games.
Yeah, exactly. My prediction, Bobby Dahlbeck, hasn't been working out too well. Yeah, nothing great for American League Rookie of the Year. No one really saw Adolis Garcia being that guy. My slightly alarming is the Rays pitching staff. They've not been
Wow.
very effective in you could mark this with Tyler Glasnow, without Tyler Glasnow, and this isn't really I'm not necessarily correlation equals causation here, but I think there might be a little bit of a causation, but overall the Rays pitching staff is just slumping. So since Tyler Glasnow's last start, their team ERA is 4.95. And while Tyler Glasnow was healthy, their starter ERA was 3.49 and second in the American League. Since his injury, their starter ERA is 4.80 and seventh in the AL. Also, while Tyler Glasnow was healthy, their bullpen ERA was 3.03 and third in the MLB. And since then, their bullpen ERA is 5.11 and 23rd in the MLB. So it could be a thing of, Tyler Glasnow was their biggest innings eater. Maybe without him, the bullpen is a little more exhausted than usual. And, now they're not quite as effective as they would be because they're not as well rested. But I think, just team morale is a bit down, and teams go through downslides. Go through some downs in the season generally. So it may not necessarily have to do at all with the Tyler Glasnow injury, but specifically since then, it's been bad for them. As a team, I think they've lost 12 out of 18 or something like that, and before that, I think it was 12 out of 16. So it was pretty rough for them. They might be coming back, but the Tampa Bay Rays overall pitching staff hasn't been good. In fact,
Slightly alarming.
So yeah, it has not been great for the Rays pitching staff since the Tyler Glasnow injury, but could get turned around. They just need somebody to lead the way. So now we get into the preview of the week ahead. Monday has already surpassed. I mean, series
Our
wise,
next episode will be coming Friday since this one's coming out on Tuesday. So yeah, I'm gonna look at Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday for matchups. And Chris, you can go ahead with series that have maybe they've already started, maybe they're starting tonight.
yeah. I think I think some of the better series are actually starting tonight. You have a battle of two division leaders. I think this potentially could be a postseason preview, especially like number 2 seed versus number 3 seed. Mets Brewers you have starting tonight.
No, that started last night.
It started last night.
Yeah, the Mets won last night.
So Mets
4-2.
won last night 4-2. Tonight you have DeGrom versus Brett Anderson.
That's tough. The Brewers have 3 aces, and DeGrom gets matched against Brett Anderson. That's unfortunate.
It is. Especially just for baseball fans. Like that would be nice to see a DeGrom versus Peralta,
Burns,
Woodruff,
yeah.
or Burns matchup. Wednesday, Corbin Burns versus to be determined, and I guess that series ends after that, and then another series to watch, which I believe starts tonight, if I'm not mistaken. You have A's Astros. Astros have been streaking. A's not really. So A's looking to gain some ground in Houston at Minute Maid. Tonight you have a very good matchup. Wednesday you have another pretty good matchup. So yeah, you have some very good pitching matchups there. And Thursday you have Lance McCullers versus Frankie Montas at 2 p.m. So a pretty crucial series there in Houston. So what do you got for the day by days?
So there's a lot of good pitching tonight, a lot of good matchups, particularly. You obviously mentioned DeGrom. That's at 7:10 Eastern time. In Dodgers Marlins, you have Tony Gonsolin versus Pablo Lopez. That's an intriguing matchup. Phillies Cubs, you have Jake Arrieta facing his former team in Philadelphia. You have Aaron Nola pitching for the Phillies. You mentioned Chris Bassett versus Framber Valdez tonight in Oakland versus Houston. You have Carlos Rodon versus Jose Barrios. I got to take with Garrett Cole's recent struggles. If Carlos Rodon produces a game score of at least 60 tonight, he is the new front runner in American League Cy Young.
Yeah,
that is my take. He's facing a Twins lineup that is pretty good. The pitching has been the issue, but Barrios is going to be facing him. Probably looking to rack up some trade value. You have Ryan Weathers going for the Padres as well. But the matchup of the night, 2 all-star pitchers, Nathan Eovaldi versus Shohei Ohtani. That's going to be a good one.
Yeah.
It's going to be a late one as well. And then on Wednesday, you have Lance Lynn going for the White Sox. You have Sonny Gray going for the Reds. You have Hyun-Jin Ryu. He's been struggling lately going against Matt Harvey. Corbin Burns will be going for the Brewers. Zach Wheeler will be going for the Phillies. You mentioned Manaya versus Garcia in A's Astros. And you also have Yusei Kikuchi going late night. But the best matchup of the night, I think, Casey Mize versus Kyle Gibson. 2 how about that's going against each other in Detroit versus Texas. 2 teams that aren't really playing for much right now, but that'll be a good one to watch for sure. And they're both pitching for stuff. Mize is, pitching to establish himself, and Gibson is pitching to get out of there. So that'll be exciting. And then on Thursday, you have Julio Urias versus Sandy Alcantara. A lot of good matchups in this Dodgers and Marlins series. You have Montas versus McCullers, like you mentioned. You have not a lot is announced. Tyler Mahle going for the Reds against Milwaukee. That'll be good. But the matchup of the night so far, and probably will be at all times, Max Scherzer versus Yu Darvish on Thursday night in Nationals Padres. That is a good one.
Oh yeah, that's a huge one. All right, so that does it for this episode. We hope you enjoy this one. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and want to watch the conversation as it happens, go to our YouTube channel and subscribe to the YouTube channel. It is called Above Replacement Radio. Also, if you want to follow us on social media, follow me on Twitter at Chris_Gianta. Follow Daniel on both Twitter and Instagram at Daniel_current, and follow the show Instagram at Above Replacement Radio for all the show needs. And we hope you enjoyed this one, and we hope to see you on Friday, where we are going to be talking all the happenings in Major League Baseball. Once again, we will see you then.
This conversation is over.